Mother's Day. So have you thought about what you want to do? You do? Okay, well, we perform the procedure Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. If you want to be asleep, you can have nothing to eat or drink, and that includes water, for 12 hours before. That's really important. Take off all your jewelry and nail polish and wear loose, comfortable clothing. You have to have someone to drive you home. You can plan on being here 3 to 4 hours. And that'll be $235 in cash. Saturdays were always the busiest days. No one had to take off work. One had the rest of the day and all of Sunday to recuperate. It meant I got up before 7 a.m. on Saturday for 4 years. It meant trying to forget I had gotten to bed at 2 or 3, to shake off tiredness, to dismiss any studying I desperately needed to do, to, in short, concentrate on the needs of these women, to listen to them and not to myself. The Saturday before Mother's Day was usually the slowest. Probably it didn't seem right to have an abortion shortly before a national holiday celebrating motherhood. This demonstrated an uncommon sense of incongruity on their part, considering the number of patients I had who announced their imminent wedding plans, like in 3 months. Wouldn't dream of being pregnant going down the aisle. Further, they then wanted to know how quickly they could get pregnant again once firmly entrenched in the sanctity of marriage. One wasn't allowed to demonstrate any opinion about a patient's decision. Moments like this really tested one's control of this policy. Valentine's Day was also a slow one, especially when the women were informed they couldn't have sex for 2 weeks after surgery. Few were willing to give up this required night of romance. This actually made some sense, especially when compared with the number who found it impossible to abstain for 2 whole weeks. "My boyfriend couldn't wait that long," was a refrain falling on our incredulous ears. Even more, the number who then added to their sins of irresponsibility by failing to use birth control during this premature intercourse. Often this resulted in repeat customers for me, women who again looked for support and reassurance from their non-judgmental counselor, who searched desperately for better cliches to utter. Listen to what they're really saying. "Look, you don't have to explain yourself to me. You don't have to justify your decision. You want to do this, and that's enough of a good reason. Yes, you're still a good mom. This isn't a black and white thing here. The best you can really hope to achieve is the lightest shade of gray." I'll listen anyway. The mother with several kids, feeling she would neglect the ones she already had in favor of this new one. The women who cheated on their boyfriends and wanted to know the exact hour of conception so they can decide, based on apparent parentage, whether to continue or terminate. The 17-year-old who isn't going to have an abortion, but also isn't telling her parents about her pregnancy. I suggest they might get suspicious in a few months about that baby living in her room. The 13-year-old who is hysterical at being forced into surgery by her mother, but refuses to go home when I tell her she shouldn't do this. Maybe she's right, but we can't do this if you aren't at least comfortable with it. We don't want you regretting anything later. Go talk to her. You're still early. There's plenty of time to come back. No, I can't call her. She told me not to come home if I didn't have it done. Maybe she would be wrecking her life, but it is hers to wreck. The women who got a positive pregnancy test, who weren't using birth control, and asked how they could possibly be pregnant. The soap opera star, the rock star's girlfriend, the ingenue, the denial, the tears, more words. "Can I see it afterward?" they ask, bewilderingly. My baby," some cry when they wake up. "It's not a baby," the doctor says firmly. "You're maybe being a better mother by waiting to be a mother," I occasionally add. Sometimes I think they feel guilty simply because they think they are expected to feel guilty. It's okay to be glad. Some are. Running into a girl 5 years later. "Thank God I did that. Thank God I didn't walk away. Thank God you were there. You saved my life. What would I have done to that child? A child myself." I woke up in the middle of the night recently, dreaming I worked there again. I used to dream when I worked there that I was having an abortion. Everyone did. Often we dreamt we were performing it on ourselves. My patients always asked me if I'd ever had one, and oddly, I felt ashamed when I said no. As if viewing hundreds still didn't make me qualified enough to empathize or console. To lull myself back to sleep, 2 years after leaving, I ran through my spiel again, that I used to recite like a script. What will happen to you today for the next few weeks? Do you have any questions? 8 or 9 times a day. If I did it in the right order, I didn't even have to think while I talked. 2 years later, in the dead of the night, it still rolled off my brain without noticeable effort, as if at any moment I would be prepared to return.